beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were.
Hello and welcome to A Beautiful Legacy. I'm your host, Tiago Pinto. In March, Beautiful Legacy turns its attention to the supermarket, not only as a format but as a system shaped by logistics, behavior, temperature, timing, and trust. Because long before retail designers defined circulation paths or brand strategists defined private labels, someone had to solve a more fundamental product. How do you make food wait? This episode explores the legacy of Clarence Birdseye, a man who did not set out to redesign retail, yet fundamentally altered how supermarkets function, scale, and imagine themselves. Frozen food did not simply extend shelf life. It reorganized the aisle. It expanded geography. It introduced a new relationship between households and time. And in doing so, it quietly enabled the supermarket as we recognize today. Let's defrost together this idea in the next 10 minutes. Clarence Birdseye was not trained as a food scientist nor a retailer. He was a field naturalist, and it was observation, not theory, that led him through his breakthrough. In the early 1910s, working in Labrador, Birdseye noticed something precise. Fish caught and left exposed to the extreme Arctic cold froze almost instantly. When thawed, they retained their original texture and flavor in a way slow frozen fish did not. The insight was deceptively simple. Speed mattered. What Birdseye understood instinctively, and then scientifically was that freezing was not merely preservation, it was structure. Slow freezing produced large ice crystals that ruptured cell walls. Rapid freezing created small crystals that preserved them. Food could survive time if frozen correctly. By the late 1920s, Birdseye had developed a method for quick freezing food using metal belts and pressurized cold plates. His system industrialized what he had first observed outdoors: speed as quality control. But the true transformation was not technical, it was commercial. Because Birdseye realized that freezing would not succeed as a process alone. It required a system around it: packaging, transport, display, education, and above all, trust. In other words, it required retail design. Frozen food entered the market cautiously. Early retailers were skeptical, customers were unfamiliar, infrastructure was fragile, to say the least. Birdseye responded not with persuasion alone, but with integration. He designed a closed loop. In 1930, his company staged a carefully controlled retail introduction in Springfield, Massachusetts, often cited as the first true test of frozen food at scale. Retailers were supplied not only with products, but with freezer cabinets, thermometers, storage guidance, and handling protocols. The objective was consistency, not exposure. This was not product innovation in isolation. It was environmental design. His company developed branded cartons engineered for stacking, insulation, and clarity. Distribution networks were coordinated with refrigerated rail cars. Retailers were supplied with specialized freezer cabinets, often provided directly to ensure consistency at the point of sale. The freezer case itself became a new retail object, transparent yet sealed, visible yet protected, commercial yet technological. Its horizontal format encouraged browsing differently from shelves. Its glass lids staged food as inventory rather than produce. Its hum and frost signaled reliability. Just as importantly, freezer infrastructure reshaped store planning. Electrical loads increased, equipment maintenance became routine. Layouts began to accommodate for thermal zoning. Cold concentrated in one controlled perimeter, rather than dispersed across fragile fresh displays. Birdseye understood that frozen food would be judged visually before it was trusted nutritionally. Packaging, therefore, played a critical role. The early Birdseye cartoons used clean typography, restrained color palettes, and clear photography to communicate order and reassurance. Unlike canned goods, which leaned on illustration and abundance, frozen food spoke through calmness. It was modern, controlled, scientific, and slowly households adapted. Frozen spinach, frozen peas, frozen fish fillets. Each product shortened preparation time while extending planning horizons. Meals became less dependent on markets, seasons, and immediacy. Time entered kitchen, packaged, portioned, and predictable.
Beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were.
If Birdseye changed the home, he changed the supermarket even more profoundly. Frozen food enabled scale. Before freezing, perishability constrained assortment. Retailers balanced freshness against spoilage. Geography limited choice. Inventory cycles remained short and unstable. Freezing reorganized these constraints. Products could travel further, categories expanded, waste decreased, forecasting improved, and crucially, frozen foods altered the logic of space. The freezer aisle required electricity, insulation, maintenance, and planning. It anchored store layouts technologically. It demanded reliable supply chains. It stabilized margins. As supermarkets expanded through the mid-20th century, frozen food became foundational to their economics. Birdseye's system aligned perfectly with emerging retail formats in the United States and later Europe. Self-service shopping, trolley circulation, large footprints, and weekly purchasing rhythms. Frozen food reinforced routine. Families shopped less frequently but bought more. Retailers standardized assortments. Brands developed portfolios around frozen convenience, from vegetables to ready meals. Over time, competitors followed. Companies like Swanson and later Birdseye's global successors expanded the category dramatically, introducing TV dinners and complete meal solutions. But the logic remained Birdseye's. Food could be stabilized, standardized, and scaled without losing credibility. The aisle became less seasonal and more permanent.
beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were.
The world we inherited from Clarence Birdseye. Today, the frozen aisle is one of the most stable and profitable zones in the supermarket. It is also one of the most revealing. It tells us how retail learned to manage time. Frozen logistics underpin global food systems. Supermarkets rely on cold chains to ensure availability across continents and climates. Retailers design store formats assuming frozen infrastructure as a baseline condition. Private labels dominate the category, reflecting trust in systems over brands alone. Discounters across Europe, from Aldi to Lidl, rely heavily on frozen efficiency to maintain consistency, reduce waste, and simplify operations at scale. Assortments expand continuously. Plant-based meals, bakery items, seafood, snacks, desserts. Each reinforcing the idea that time is negotiable, yet Birdseye's deeper legacy is behavioral. He reshaped how consumers plan. Cooking shift from daily improvisation toward weekly coordination. Households embraced stockpiling, preparation separated from consumption. Convenience, once suspect, became expected. Even today's meal kit services and ready meal innovations operate within Birdseye's logic. Remove uncertainty, stabilize quality, compress effort. Frozen food made the supermarket dependable, and dependability made it scalable.
Beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were.
Clarence Birdseye did not redesign the supermarket through aesthetics. He redesigned it through time. His innovation was not spectacle, it was discipline. He introduced a system where decay could be paused, geography could be expanded, and planning could replace urgency. This changed more than one aisle. It changed the rhythm of daily life. Because once food can wait, behavior changes. Shopping becomes strategic, cooking becomes modular, retail becomes infrastructural. Birdseye understood something essential. Scale requires stability, and stability requires systems. In the frozen aisle, everything appears still. Silent cabinets, uniform cartons, measurable frost. But beneath that stillness lies motion. Logistics, engineering, forecasting, coordination. A choreography of control. And once control enters retail, it never leaves. And that, truly, is a beautiful legacy.
Beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were.
You've been listening to A Beautiful Legacy. This is a podcast about the people who shaped and designed the world around us, often quietly, often systematically, often without recognition. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the show and share it with someone who sees design not only in objects, but in everyday systems. Because behind every aisle, every product, and every routine, there is always someone who designed the way it works. Follow the show and join me again every Tuesday and Thursday. Until then, keep noticing the beauty people leave behind.
Beautiful legacy. Every line, every curve leaves a trace of who we were. In the shape of a chair, in the light on a wall, someone's dream still stands tall. But